You are not going to believe what just went down inside that courtroom. You'd think you were watching a scandalous Netflix drama, but no, this is real life, and the plot twist, it involves none other than King James himself, LeBron. Yes, that LeBron James. He wasn't supposed to be there. Not on the witness list, not on the legal team, not even in the spotlight. But baby, let me tell you, the spotlight found him, and it came crashing down hard. The courtroom was packed. Reporters buzzing, lawyers stiff with nerves, and the jury looking like they were walking on eggshells. Everyone was focused until juror number 4, who had been quiet and composed all trial long, suddenly looked toward the gallery, her eyes locked with someone, and honey, it wasn't just anyone, it was LeBron sitting there like a mystery in designer threads, not making eye contact with the judge, but soaking in every damn detail like a man on a mission. At first, people thought he was just there supporting Diddy. Others assumed he was observing, maybe offering moral support or some quiet solidarity. But then came the whispers. Soft at first, then spreading like wildfire in dry brush. He's coaching the jury. Boom. One whisper and the entire courtroom vibe shifted like an earthquake had rolled through. The prosecutor stopped mid-question. Even the stenographer looked up. The judge took off his glasses like he couldn't believe what his eyes and ears were telling him. And just like that, chaos hit. An unscheduled recess was called. The jury was rushed out, some looking confused, others flat out shaken. And LeBron? He didn't move, not a blink. But 2 bailiffs sure did, standing just a little too close to him now. Lawyers swarmed into huddles. Reporters ran out with their phones held up high. The gallery, once buzzing with side comments and curiosity, was frozen in stunned silence. And then came the bombshell from the judge. We have reason to believe an external party may have interfered with the sanctity of this court. He didn't name names, but girl, you already know every single eye in that room darted straight to LeBron. It only got messier from there. So right after that courtroom exploded with whispers and suspicion, everyone was desperate to know, was this just a misunderstanding, or was LeBron James really coaching jurors behind the scenes? Let's rewind a bit. Later that same day, while the courtroom sat in chaos, a quiet moment unfolded that would come back to haunt everyone. A security officer just doing his rounds in the courthouse cafeteria noticed something weird. Tucked away near a window, trying to blend in with a cap pulled low, was LeBron. But he wasn't alone. Sitting across from him was a woman. Civilian clothes, casual posture, but unmistakable if you'd seen the jury box. Juror number 6. No media, no security, just the two of them chatting like old friends. Now, the officer didn't intervene. It wasn't technically against the rules. LeBron wasn't banned from talking to anyone. But something about that moment felt off, like too quiet. Too familiar. And later, when the courtroom caught fire with allegations of jury tampering, that image, LeBron and Juror 6 sharing coffee, came back like a splinter under everyone's skin. Meanwhile, attorneys were digging deep into jury protocol. Like, how did one of the most recognizable men in the world get this close to jurors? How did the court's strict no-contact rules fail this badly? And then the leaks start. Anonymous sources from inside the courthouse whispered that this wasn't even the first time LeBron had been spotted getting chummy with jurors. Girl, 3 jurors were now under investigation for having possible outside communication. Juror number 2, seen walking into the same private parking garage as LeBron's SUV after hours. Juror number 6, caught chatting at a crosswalk with a tall man whose build and voice matched LeBron to a T. Nothing was officially recorded on court surveillance, but the tension, you could cut it with a knife. And LeBron, still calm, still composed, but now flanked by not 1 but 2 attorneys. That's when you know the storm's coming. Then came the next jaw-dropper. A handwritten anonymous note was handed to the court. Scribbled in panic, it read, "He told us to lean toward a guilty verdict, and neither will the culture." No name, no signature, just those damning words. The courtroom froze. Every jaw dropped. The judge treated the note as official evidence. Handwriting analysts were summoned. Jurors were questioned privately. The pressure was mounting like lava under a volcano. And then juror number 6 broke. Eyes brimming with tears, voice barely a whisper, she confessed. Yes, she had spoken to someone, a public figure. She wouldn't say who. She wouldn't confirm if she wrote the note, but she admitted she felt pressured to protect Diddy's image. Baby, the room fell silent like a funeral. The judge took off his glasses again, exhaled deep, and said, "This court is dangerously close to collapsing under the weight of external manipulation." And right there, LeBron James looked up. just once, right at the judge. He didn't need to say a word because everyone felt it. This wasn't just a Diddy trial anymore. This was now a war over truth, power, and fame, and the courtroom was the battleground. But it wasn't over. So just when we thought it couldn't get worse, honey, the courtroom imploded. The judge's chambers, no longer a place of quiet deliberation. It was now a war room. Phones off, no press, just cold eyes and tense whispers. And at the heart of it all, one unthinkable question: was the most famous athlete in the world actually tampering with a federal jury? Yeah, that was now on the table. While lawyers scrambled and the prosecution filed for a mistrial, investigators took a different route. They turned to tech. If anyone was meddling with jurors, there had to be a trail. A whisper in the hallway is one thing, but honey, texts don't lie. So the judge did something no one expected. He ordered a full forensic review of all jurors' phone records. Texts, call logs, GPS history, every digital crumb was now fair game. And then came the explosion. The digital team brought the report back. Juror number 2's phone, it lit up like a Christmas tree. Dozens of short 30-second calls, always during non-court hours, always from the same 310 area code. Here's the kicker. That number belonged to a burner phone purchased 4 days after the trial began. Guess who paid for it? LeBron James' driver, in cash, in Beverly Hills. Boom. What started as suspicion just turned into evidence. The judge's voice dropped an octave as he read the report aloud in open court. You could hear gasps. One woman in the gallery whispered, "Oh my God." Diddy put his head in his hands, running his fingers across his forehead like he was trying to erase the moment. And then came the dagger. Juror number 2 was brought in for a closed-door session. The judge asked straight, "Did someone tell you to vote a certain way?" The juror paused, eyes darting like a cornered animal. Then, with a voice barely above a whisper, "I didn't think it mattered. If I didn't tell the others." The room held its breath. The judge leaned in. "Did someone tell you that?" Another pause, a deep breath. "I was told Diddy's life depends on it." Gabbled slam, hard. Everyone in the room jumped. The judge's face was beet red. Court proceedings suspended indefinitely. No verdict. No testimony could be trusted anymore. The trial wasn't just tampered, it was poisoned from within. And standing in the middle of it all, LeBron James, once the golden boy of sports and charity, now the alleged puppet master of a federal disaster. And girl, it wasn't over yet. By the next morning, the courtroom was no longer just a room. It was ground zero for one of the biggest scandals in celebrity legal history. The gallery, packed. The jurors, brought in under federal escort. The air, so thick with tension you could slice it with a gavel. But all eyes were on one man now, LeBron James. He was no longer just a figure in the background. He wasn't some observer anymore. No, baby. He was now a central figure in a federal hearing, about to be called to the stand. No press allowed, no cameras, just silence, cold, heavy, real. The back doors creaked open, and in walked LeBron. Not in Lakers purple, not with sneakers squeaking on hardwood, but in silence, head high, suit crisp, and soul clearly shaking. He didn't nod, didn't smirk, didn't look at Diddy. He walked like a man carrying the weight of an entire empire on his back. "Please raise your right hand." He did. "Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?" "I do," LeBron said, voice low, tight. Then the prosecutor came in. No warm-up, no fluff. "You attended multiple days of this trial, correct?"
"Yes."
"And you interacted with at least 2 jurors during that time?"
Bron paused.
You could almost hear the PR advice bouncing in his head. "I greeted people outside. It wasn't intentional contact, but it was contact." Careful wording. The gallery noticed. "Did you ever tell any juror that a guilty verdict would be bad for Diddy or bad for the culture?" LeBron's jaw clenched. "I never said that," but the air didn't believe him. Then exhibit time. Security footage played on the courtroom monitor. It was grainy, sure, but it clearly showed LeBron and juror number 6 talking. 40 whole seconds. In courtroom time, that's an eternity. "What were you saying here?" LeBron stared at the screen. His voice dropped. "I don't remember." The attorney leaned in. "You don't remember?" "I talked to a lot of people," LeBron said, shifting now, and then came the 1-2 punch. Call logs, that burner phone, the one traced back to his driver, those weren't random dials. They were timed perfectly around court sessions. His lawyer jumped in, objecting like a man trying to plug a dam with a paper towel. "But the judge? We're not at the point of judgment," he snapped. "We are at the point of exposure." And then the question question that cracked LeBron's cool to pieces. Did you tell any juror, directly or indirectly, that their decision would affect your world outside this courtroom? Silence. No, not just silence. A void. Everyone held their breath. No, LeBron said. But it didn't land like truth. It landed like survival. The judge wasn't moved. This court will not be hijacked by cultural icons, he declared. If influence was used to steer this jury, it's a threat to the entire justice system. LeBron was dismissed. He didn't look at anyone, not even Diddy. He just walked out. Not as the king, but as the man who might have broken the system with a whisper. By the time court resumed the next day, you could feel it. The trial was hanging by a thread, and that thread was fraying fast. The press exploding. Headlines everywhere screamed, "Up jury tampering. Diddy trial on brink of collapse." And Diddy, he sat alone long after the lawyers left, just staring at that empty jury box, like he could still see the moment the truth died. The judge returned to chambers to write a ruling no judge ever wants to pen, trial compromise due to extrajudicial influence. It would go down in history, not because of what Diddy did, but because LeBron showed up. And when he did, justice lost its balance. And it's not over, sis. An inquiry into jury tampering was opened. LeBron now faces his own legal nightmare: obstruction, conspiracy, maybe worse. And maybe the most chilling part, the bench where LeBron once sat, it now carries a sign. This seat must remain empty during federal proceedings. A quiet memorial to the moment everything changed. The trial wasn't lost because of facts. It was lost because the scales of justice were outweighed by celebrity. And the world will never look at that courtroom the same again.